Hello, and welcome to the Kathy J Show. Happy New Year, everybody. I'm Katie Mitchell, and I'm on Cool 105. We play Denver's greatest hits. Yep, I'm a radio girl filling in today for my bestie, Kathy J. She's having surgery this morning on her leg, and she appreciates all the love everyone has been sending her during this time, and she wanted me to tell you that she's so grateful for your support, and you're really keeping her going. So happy healing to you, Kathy. We can't wait to see you back in action soon. But you know, it is so wonderful to be here this morning on TV. I totally understand why Kathy loves being on camera so much. It is such an adrenaline rush, but you know, a lot of things go into being on TV, and I want to thank Michael Moore for making me look like a girl because he is so great at that. You can check him out, Simply More Cosmetics. Man, he does wonderful, wonderful things. So thank you, Michael, for helping me out this morning. But on to today's show, and have you ever thought about who you are? How many of you ask that about yourselves on a regular basis? You know, some of us can't even answer this question because we've learned that we need to adapt and change in order to be loved and accepted. And this happens at a very early age in our lives. So we lose sight of the real me, and instead we wear a mask which hides our true self. And this is called the Imposter Syndrome. You might have heard of it, but we're going to dig deeper into it today. And to help us get there, we've invited Kathy's sex psychology and relationship coach, Leslie Gustafson, to tell us more about it. Yay. Leslie, I'm so excited to have you on the couch.
I'm so excited to connect with you and meet you and just have this experience with you. Super fun.
I mean, I feel like I know you so much because I've seen you on the couch quite a few times, and you always have such solid things to say.
Thank you.
And so today with, you know, imposter syndrome, it's a term that I'm not necessarily familiar with. So why don't you explain to us what it is?
Yeah, it's a pretty current day term, kind of pop psychology, but essentially what it means is the syndrome of not being really you.
Okay.
Which means that we learn early on, like you were saying, given what our experiences are in our home, that maybe we aren't good enough, or the home doesn't really see us for who we are. And so we learn early on, because we're little survivors, and we need to have love, and we need to have affection and connection, and we need to be seen and known and heard. We learn how to get those needs met. Because we must. And so a lot of times that means pretending, or being people pleasing, or being compliant, or being the good girl or good boy. It means adapting instead of just showing up and being your quirky, weird self perhaps, and having that be seen. And we aren't seen because we don't think it's safe on some level. So we learn what works here.
Yeah, well, when you think of children especially, they just want to be safe and loved, and they'll do anything to make the environment that they're in feel safer. So even if that means, you know, sacrificing a little bit of themselves. That's so sad.
It is so sad. It is tragic, and it actually is trauma. That's a whole other talk. But we are very adaptive. But what happens to us over time is we either never really discovered who we are or know who we are, and we're showing up all over the place doing this same thing of pretending, of putting on masks, or being pleasing. There's so many ways it can show up, but it doesn't feel like it's really us.
No.
It doesn't feel like it's really us. And then when we ask a question like this, which is kind of a daunting question, who am I? One, who does ask that except all of us in the psychology field, right?
Yeah.
And when we ask that, do we know who we are?
Yes.
And the way we know who we are is because we've been ourselves freely, authentically, and genuinely over and over and over again, and others could see us and delight in us.
Yes, and you know, it takes some time. It's a cycle that we go through, and we're going to learn more about, you know, there is a lot more to this imposter syndrome.
There is.
So we're going to talk to Leslie when we get back after this.
Kathy J. The Colorado Lottery is an official partner of the Kathy J Show. Colorado Lottery, play on.
Welcome back to the Kathy J Show, everybody. I'm Katie Mitchell, filling in for Kathy as she's tending to her broken leg this morning. And today we've been talking about the imposter syndrome. And it's when we're not authentic with who we really are and we pretend to be someone else in order to receive love, respect, and acceptance. And we believe our true selves are not good enough. That in itself is a sad statement, but sex psychology and relationship coach Leslie Gustafson is here to tell us about why the imposter syndrome, it's really the imposter solution. Now explain that, Leslie.
Well, when you're a little kid, we're not talking about a little child manipulating here. Okay, this is almost an unconscious process of learning how to adapt.
How to appease, right?
How to appease, how to get along, how to not get hurt in some circumstances, right? So it is survival. It is a solution at hand that works in the moment. You don't think you're playing pretend. You're just trying to cope and get along.
Yes.
But you're also building a personality around that if that's the way you continue to be. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah.
So you're trying to solve something in the moment unconsciously. You're trying to figure it out. You're a little child who's trying to get love and get their needs met. But mom's scary and dad's an alcoholic and what about me? I don't know where to go and no one's there for me. And so, okay, what works?
Yeah.
You learn what works. Well, if I get in the middle and throw myself down and have a fit and a temper tantrum, I might get some attention, right? So
in the moment.
In the moment, so I feel like I'm getting loved because we're all about that when we're little children, right? Because our need set is such that we need to be loved to flourish. We need to be seen and known and heard. And we will find ways to get the love.
Yeah. Well, and
because we have to.
The instantaneous.
And so it is a solution in the moment. But
Yeah.
if it becomes the established personality over time and you grow up, it doesn't work anymore, but you're still doing those same things. When we grow up, we want to be in connection with people really.
Yeah.
We want to be able to be loved and be seen and known, and we want to be able to accept other people for who they are in all of their uniqueness.
Yeah.
And then if you're still playing pretend, no one can get to know you. No one can get to really know you. So you're in isolation and feeling sad and unknown and unloved. And you don't know what's going wrong. Why isn't this working anymore?
Well, and if it's what you've done your whole life and you think that it's
to
protecting
survive
you.
and to get along and to play pretend because it works and to show up and be, compliant here and there, or to hide in your room and learn that you don't really can trust anybody. I'll just stay by myself over here.
Yeah.
And I'll be safe and avoid anything emotional.
Yeah.
At all. And yet we are emotional.
Well, yeah. I mean, how many times has it worked for you? I'm just going to avoid any emotion here. I'm not just going to let that happen.
And so there's all sorts of strategies or ways that we change.
Yeah.
And never really blossom as ourselves.
Yeah.
And there's nothing really, truly more compelling or refreshing than a real person.
I mean, those authentic people, right?
Yes,
like you're drawn to them.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
they have a light about them,
yes,
and
because
you
they're
just can't ignore it.
themselves.
Yeah.
And they give permission to others to be free and be themselves too.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
There is some beauty in that, exactly. And if you're
Yes.
not following these steps about being true to yourself, being authentic to yourself, there's probably going to be some consequences, right?
Absolutely.
So we are going to talk about those consequences after the break. We'll be right back on the Kathy J Show.
You got it.
Kathy J. Ramos Law is an official partner of the Kathy J Show. He's a medical doctor and a lawyer. Ramos Law, what makes us different makes us better.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm Katie Mitchell from Cool 105, Kathy's best friend and fellow radio DJ, filling in for her while she's having surgery on her leg. And best wishes, Kathy, on a speedy recovery. We've been talking about the imposter syndrome, and it's not just a catchphrase that you hear floating around. It is a real thing. Many people are doing this. I'm thinking I am also doing this at times, but there are consequences. What happens in your entire life turns into one big lie. I mean, that's no way to live,
that's a great
Leslie.
way of putting it.
That's no way to live.
It is the truth. Like it becomes just one big Fakenstein. Like you're just
I like that.
Fakenstein, right? Where you're walking around and you don't really know who you are, but you're adapting and trying to show up in the way that you think is going to be popular or pleasing or what's expected of you by others. And so you're playing to your audience. instead of just showing up authentically.
Yeah.
And what tends to happen for people is that at some point it becomes very clear around some kind of event or breakdown, or it just stops working. And then that's usually when you have to go, uh-oh, what's up with me? Why is my life not happy? Why am I not satisfied? Why don't I feel loved? Why am I anxious all of the time?
Anxious. I was going to say depression is probably something
because
you might deal
it's
with.
exhausting to play pretend all of the time. The effort that takes is like scary and exhausting to try to be somebody, right?
Yeah.
That's not you. That's like perfectionism and performance. Right?
Yeah.
It's not, and for me, I'll just straight up, it showed up for me when I was in graduate school and had to do a public speaking event where I'm supposed to be seen as competent and capable, but inside I don't feel like I am. I'm just a student. And I crumbled in anxiety and panic because that difference between how I'm trying to look and who I really am is completely different, because all of who I really am is undercover. I'm not going to stand up in my public speaking moment and go, okay, just so you know, I'm terrified right now, everybody.
I know, right? You don't want
and
people
I'm not
to know
sure
that.
I really know what I'm talking about. This isn't a topic I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
We don't do that. But that would have been honest.
Yeah,
And
that
it
would have
probably
been.
would have saved the day had I had the ability to know myself at that time. It takes a lot of work
Yeah,
to
it does.
uncover who you really are and be okay with it, and move the fear and the shame and the anxiety around that, because it feels very risky to just show up vulnerable, to show up imperfect, to show up
To admit you're wrong, or
to
you're
admit
not
you're
fully
wrong, that
right.
you don't get it just right.
Yeah.
And we don't even, in corporate situations, it often shows up there for people in work environments. People talk about it in work environments a lot, like, oh, you know, I'm struggling with the imposter syndrome. Because we don't really allow for a lot of authenticity, right? You have to show up and perform.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that puts everybody back in that position of having to look competent but feel real.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and I was thinking, because again, we were talking about like the broad term that this could really cover. I mean, there's so many different situations that this could come into
Absolutely.
play. What if it was like, say I have a daughter, she's 18. She told me once that she doesn't act the same to me as she does to her friends. She
Yes.
does to her teachers. She
Yes.
does to the people she work with. And,
Yes.
and I just expect that. I don't want my daughter telling me the same thing she tells her friends, right? Like, that'd be weird. So would that be considered imposter because she's trying to save face, because she's trying to give me the best version of her?
She's aware of it.
Yeah.
That was the key there. She was aware of what she's doing. So
Okay.
she's saying she knows who she is, but she doesn't give you the full spiel.
Yeah.
Because you're her mom, and that's a whole nother topic around how she needs to be different than you in order to feel like her own self. So she's going to her friends and basically experimenting with the fullness of who she is.
Okay.
Not just the good girl or the compliant child, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But the key is there that she's aware that she's
aware.
doing it.
That's a great
Because she's
point.
over here with my full personality. She's saying, I know who I really am. I have a lot going on with me, but I'm
Okay.
over here with my friends doing that. For you right now, I'm keeping you a little bit away because I want to be my full self. And essentially, my son too, I don't want you to even have an opinion about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
As the parent, because
Right.
I don't want to be squelched.
Yeah.
I want to be free.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you know, honestly, I think a good thing is to pay attention to those types of things. And right, are you aware? Are you not aware going in? Like, are you,
Yes.
you know, sacrificing part of yourself to make people feel better to an extent that it's negative to you?
Great
Yeah.
synopsis of that. Yes, the awareness is the key.
Yeah.
And that's why we're talking about this today, right? Is to be able to identify it in ourselves.
Yes.
Right? And we identify it typically because we aren't happy. And there are symptoms and anxiety, and we don't feel known, and we're afraid all of the time, or we don't feel loved, or we don't know why people don't love us, or we don't experience love, or we don't feel connected to people, or we just don't feel real.
Yeah.
Right? Those symptoms are things we want to pay attention because they're telling us something about the state of ourselves.
Yeah.
And then we need to do some digging. We need to get in there and go, am I showing up in my life as I really want to? Am I free to be me? Am I hiding? Am I people pleasing? Am I adapting to others? Am I fearful? Because it's
Fearful.
the fear that you're going to be breaking through as you risk.
And fear
to
drives
show
so
up
much,
and be
doesn't
vulnerable.
it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it really is about finding your true self and then doing whatever it takes to be that true self.
Yes, to honor it and not
Yes.
let that old pattern of pretend and adapting and doing what you need to do to get through run your show. It needs to be shed. And it can be shed. I want you to know this is the heart of the work I do with women, so that they can be fully themselves in their whole life. That is freedom.
Yeah.
That is freedom.
Even you saying it feels free, doesn't it?
Yes.
It's like, oh, to be your
Yes.
true self,
Well, you're
it just
showing
can't be
up,
anything
and
better.
you know what? It's magnetic when we are.
Yeah.
We think it's going to be scary. We think people aren't going to understand us, or they're going to shame us, or they're going to belittle us. And if they do, it's because they haven't worked on this in themselves.
Exactly, and there's
That's
steps.
what it is.
There's steps we can take to
Yes.
make ourselves our own true, positive, genuine selves.
Risk and risk and
Yes.
risk and risk.
And we're going to
try
talk
and
more
try.
about risk when we come back on the Kathy J Show.
You got it.
Kathy J.
Oakwood Homes is an official partner of the Kathy J Show. Oakwood Homes, building happiness.
Kathy J.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Can you really get past the imposter syndrome? Can you truly overcome it if you've struggled with it in your life? Our sex psychology and relationship coach, Leslie Gustafson, says, yes, you can.
Absolutely, you can.
Because you've seen
And
it with
we
women you've
must.
worked with, right?
Yes, this is the heart
Yes.
of the work that I do with women. I have an evergreen program I'm always launching women into that are ready to just really grab hold of the life that they long for, that they haven't had through their whole life in the way that they wanted for all of these reasons. Are we able to overcome it? Yes, and be done with it. Because when we fully show up authentically, more and more, all of the time, and we're real, and we're ourselves, and it works.
Yeah.
The fear is it's not going to work, but it works. It actually works more powerfully to be who we are, however unique we are.
Well, yeah,
right?
it seems like you would
People
spend way more
gravitate
time
to it. Yes.
trying to be fake, right? Like
You
that would
spend more
take way
time
more
trying
energy.
to be fake, but
Yeah.
people know when we're not real.
Yeah.
And we know it too. And so you're not really making positive, real connection with others. And if you aren't really yourself and you're not really authentic, then when somebody does love you or give you love, you don't believe it.
Yeah.
Inside you go, yeah, but if you really knew
Yeah.
who I really was,
Then you'd love me.
then you wouldn't, because that's the sense that we're not okay inside. But if the truth is, when we show up as we really are, people do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our fear is that they won't. And so to overcome it, yes, authenticity, being yourself more and more consistently everywhere in your life, as scary and vulnerable as that may be, yeah, with safe people at first,
Yeah.
but more and more with everyone. It's powerful, and then you're living a full life that you long for or desire. You're in your own life.
You are the big
Right.
star in your own life.
You're the big
You're
star
the main
and-
attraction.
Yes, and you have so much more to offer others.
Yeah.
Because when we're full of love and authenticity and we like who we are and we're really okay with ourselves, that's magnetic. It gives people permission to do the same. They gravitate to us. You're able to give to them, and they believe it too.
Well, and what are some small ways that people can start living their true, authentic life?
They need to start with just being honest.
Okay.
And taking a look in the mirror and saying, am I who I thought I'd be right now?
Yeah.
Am I who I want to be? Is my life the way I intended it or thought about it? Or once upon a time to have a dream of what my life would look like? Is this it? Oftentimes it's a resounding no.
Yeah, those are hard questions
It's
to ask
really
yourself.
hard questions,
Yeah.
but they are key questions if you want to capture a chosen life, a life that you design, a life that you want, a life that you're excited about every day. If you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh my gosh, I have to do this again. Well, what you're doing again is the same thing, and it's not working for you.
Yeah,
You want to wake up in the morning and go, I can't wait to get up.
exactly.
Because
Where's
I
my
get to
coffee?
go be me. And it's going to be such a great day. That's how it
Yes.
works. And that's a profound work.
That
and
is.
it's not just something you consider, it's a necessity. if you really want to live a full life being you.
Well, and I
having
love
influence.
that you are always helping women do this. You're always helping them
Yes.
see their true selves, and you have some
Yes.
programs that women.
I do. I have my
Yes.
women's transformation program called Amazing You, and I have to tell you, I might cry, but I have to tell you, at this stage in my life, we are producing the most amazing outcomes for women. Women are changing rapidly from being anxious and depressed, empty in their relationships, feeling like life isn't really that great to live in, troubled relationships. And after 10 weeks, no kidding, 10 weeks, they're just like on fire. And they're showing up as who they are everywhere. And they're risking it in their relationships. And their partners are like going, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because they're not attacking their partner to try to get their needs met. They're showing up and saying, this is what I need.
And LeslieGustafson.com is where you can find out more about that.
Leslie.com. And there's lots of success stories there. But
Thanks for joining us today.
Yes.